Hello and welcome to a brand new series on the channel. This will be series number 29 with Timberborn, and we're going to play a new game with the Emberpelts faction. Always had a fun time with these guys, and it's about time we got back around to them and tried something different. We're going to go on a custom map I found in the workshop called The Hidden Mystery of Beavers Canyon. Lots of cool stuff to see here. I'll show you a little bit in just a second. And we're going to play on normal mode because the Project 1K hard mode and the Apocalypse mode and the Water Beavers and everything has been pretty challenging the last couple series we've done. And I want to just try something fun. I'll see you on the other side of the screen. Alright, you know what time it is. It's time to name our settlement, and this, of course, is Beaverburg 29. So let's pop that in there. And out they come. Start with 12 beavers. I'm going to hit pause just to give you a little bit of info on this faction in case you haven't seen them before. This is the Emberpelts. We call them the Fire Beavers sometimes. They like fire. They don't really like water all that much. In fact, they get a debuff if they get their fur wet. So plenty of things different and exciting to see with these guys. They've a couple production chains. The other factions don't. Unique buildings. And there, of course, is the wonder of fire that they build at the very end of their playthroughs. And we also have the Choo mod, friends. It works in Update 7, and it works with the Emberpelts with a patch for that. So that's going to be really exciting. But here's this map. It is huge. This is a very large map, and there's a lot of cool stuff to see. I don't want to reveal all the secrets quite yet, but you can see there's a lot of verticality here, and there is plenty to do. Plenty of things to close off for bad water, plenty of scrap metal to go find, and all these little corners of the map to explore and see some pretty neat stuff. And we haven't done a playthrough like this in a long time, and I thought it would be fun to play with the Emberpelts and maybe focus a little bit more on aesthetics instead of just raw efficiency and fumbling through tech trees and all that stuff. We're just going to have a good time and, you know, just enjoy the process of playing the game, because I always like that. Let's unpause. And, of course, every Timberborn playthrough starts out by grabbing some wood. So I'm going to pop in 2 lumberjack flags. Let's get these guys a pathway here. And since there's so many trees, I'm not going to worry about saving anything. Let's just mark all of these for cutting here on this entire island. Make it nice and simple. And they can just take care of that, except for the stuff that they can't reach because it's on another level. So once they have some wood, once these things are constructed, we will need to start acquiring water. We do, of course, start with some berries. So first thing I'm going to do is put a water pump in. And this area here is, if I turn this water transparency back off, there we go. A bunch of water coming in this way, kind of flowing very slowly around here. Then it actually goes under this bit of land. If we peel this back with the layer tool, you can see that this joins that exit there. So this is going to be a good place for us to put our water pump, because when the drought starts, there's still going to be a little bit here. And obviously right now we can't do anything except build it right up against the cliff, but when we get platforms we can have this go further out. And there's also other stuff to get to as well. So I'm going to flip that so that fits right there very nicely. Let's run a path all the way up there. And that's what they're going to do with their first 12 logs. As soon as they grab those, they're already hard at work making sure that that's going to be viable. And then they're also going to need somewhere to put all that water. So let's give them a small tank just right here. They'll get working on that soon as well. And now we got to talk about food. I just mentioned we have 130 berries. These bushes here don't have any berries to harvest yet. But in the next couple of days, we're going to start to get those. This island over here does have some berries available, but we're obviously not getting over there yet. So the Emberpelts have kind of a unique situation with food compared to the Folktales and the Iron Teeth. They got a mixture of new crops and old crops. We've got radishes, edible right out of the ground. We've got tomatoes, we've got bell peppers, beets, wheat, which of course the Folktales have, and then canola and corn that the Iron Teeth have. But these guys have kind of a secret weapon, and that is this press, which isn't just for pressing canola into canola oil. We can actually turn a whole bunch of these crops into juice that also satisfies thirst. So it's possible, in theory, with this faction to, after a certain point, not have any water consumed for thirst quenching. It's all just juice. So I think these guys, maybe in the future, would be a good candidate for an Apocalypse mode playthrough. But for right now, we're just having fun with the normal mode, and we'll get to this in due time. So next thing after our pump and our storage, I'm going to build a farmhouse. So let's just put it right here in the center. This is not going to be the permanent setup. I just need to get things going, and then we can, you know, make things look a little bit nicer, have some terraced stuff. and just generally appreciate the artistry of the game instead of just, you know, trying to cram stuff as fast as possible. We are going to start out with some radishes, which I will have them plant just a small crop right here. I'll leave space for a pathway there, but we can plant some down this way as well. And these other crops, as we have the processing buildings come online, will start to make more sense. But again, 4 days for this. You get 3 radishes. They can eat it. It's not their favorite food ever, but it will keep them alive. And it's pretty easy to make that happen. We're pumping here, waiting on a couple more logs. But it's nighttime, so let's go ahead and triple speed through all of that. And these guys will get back to work in the morning. We'll have to build them some homes at some point soon. But we'll do our best to get as much done today as we possibly can. So, outside of what I've already mentioned, the Emberpelts do have tubeways. They've got a regular tubeway station like you're used to with the Iron Teeth. They also have a small tubeway station. That's 2x2. I have not installed the tiny tubeways mod for this playthrough. Just because we used a lot of those in the Project 1K playthrough, and it ended up causing some problems. Plus, you know, these just look really cool, and I want to use them. It's a really, really nice looking model. But we have regular tubeways. We have tubeway levees when we start building stuff that's actually going to need to be behind water. We've got two-way bridges, which are really cool, because you can just put two-ways on bridges really, really conveniently. And, of course, we have two-way tunnels. And we have two-way levee tunnels. Lots and lots of cool stuff to like with these guys. So we've got our radishes growing. We've got trees getting cut down. And we do have our water pump pumping water. So we're going to need pretty quickly here another water pump. So I'm going to pop that guy right there. Flipped, of course, so his straw goes down a little bit further. And get those hooked up nice and easy there. So these guys just started growing. It's going to be a little while, a couple more days. So we're going to get kind of low on the berries, and it might be a little dicey for just a little bit. But worry not, because now we have our own berries growing coming in. Let's put a gatherer flag out. I guess I'll just do... probably right here is fine, honestly. We'll get them going here. I don't have any, extra workers available right now, but that's okay. Because I got 3 of them in this farmhouse, and they have nothing to do until those crops grow. But before I take anybody out, I am going to plant some additional radishes now that we have a little bit of extra space. Going to leave this space open here in case we need to or want to build a bridge across. But I just thought it would be smart for us to have access to a bunch of stuff when we need it and not a moment later. So we do have our slope here to get up to this side that we will get to eventually. In fact, before all these trees grow in, let's put a path just coming around this way. I know it's not technically the most efficient thing ever, but we're going to want to have access to this before too long, and I know we can't get all the way up here, but we will eventually. Just want to make sure I block that off so we don't accidentally build anything we can't make use of later, or vice versa. I always love seeing these guys with the farmer hats on. I think that's real fun. But they've just got a little bit more to plant, and then I will start taking a couple of them out to work other jobs. Because right now, nobody's working here because, well, we don't have anybody to send to work there. And we're going to want to keep building things soon as well. So it looks like we're just about finished. Got a little bit more to plant here. And then I'm going to send them down to a single beaver once that's all done. There we go. So now we just have one beaver here. I'm going to put the extra beaver in the district center for right now. Oh, you know what? We haven't renamed our district properly. Sometimes I forget about this for an episode or two, and then people leave comments like, hey, you forgot to rename the district. Well, not today. Today it is Beaverburg 29. So, now we sit in our magnificent starting area with a decent quantity of berries available and becoming more and more available. We've got water coming in. We've already filled our one tiny little storage. And we are growing radishes, which in another 2.5 days or so, we'll have a pretty nice crop of. So, I've got 36 logs. I don't have any storage for any logs anywhere, so we should probably do that. We've got our industrial pile that these Emberpelt beavers do have access to very easily, very early on. And I'm going to, for the sake of what these guys are trying to do, build one of these right here, have this set to store some logs. And then we have our medium warehouse available as well, which I think, since this is, land we can't grow anything on, let's just pop one of these guys in here and have this set up for radishes, since that's what we're growing. The other food items include apple pies, regular apples, baked beets, berries of course, cornbread, grilled bell peppers, grilled corn, stuffed peppers, and tomatoes. We can also grow tomatoes without, doing anything with them, but I don't really like eating raw tomatoes, so I'm not going to make my beavers do it either, at least not right now. So radish storage ahead of having that be a necessity is going to be a very good thing. And that should be just about all of the logs that we have right now. Actually, no, because we already had 6 in here, so I only need 6 more for that. That's going to be 21. So we actually have some resources available to put another small tank in. Let's do that. Make sure that we can store up a decent bit of water before we have our first drought, although it's normal mode, so it's going to be a few more days. And we should be in pretty good shape. So triple speed through the night here. These guys are going to need somewhere to sleep soon as well, but I think it's going to be much better for us to get a solid footing on food and water before we start getting comfortable. Just generally speaking. Now, again, this is normal mode. It's not hard mode, so it's not quite as dire of a situation as most of our other playthroughs. But it's still good to be cautious, right? So these guys do have a ladder available. If I can remember where it is. Ah, that's right, I have this. So this ladder goes, well, anywhere a ladder goes. So we could make use of that if we had science, which we don't. So our only option across here is to build dams, and I don't think we want to do that. And we have an extra beaver, because one of these guys grew up. So we can get started with some inventors, which right here is not a bad place to pop one of these. It's not land we can grow anything on. So I'm going to put one of those guys there. I'm going to put one of those guys there. We'll give them a pathway. And then I always like to set my workplaces for inventors as minimum priority, because that way if, there's too many beavers to do other projects, they're just going to by default go in here. And if we need them for something else, regardless of what that is, they'll automatically be pulled out and nothing really bad ever happens. So we should be having these in the next day and a half or so. 70% on, I believe, what is the very first one that was planted. Yeah, 70 there. 68, 42, and these are about that same bit right there. Yeah, so we've actually filled up our water pretty quickly, pretty early on here. And we're going to want to get into some larger storages at some point soon. But we do have to accrue science, because soon we are going to want to plant some trees. And those guys have to be planted from a forester, which has to be unlocked at 30 science, and they also need to have some planks. So this is where we have to decide how are we going to make power, because the Emberpelts have compact water wheels, and they also have the large power wheel, which you guys have dubbed the Beard Wheel, which stands for Beaver Exercise and Rotary Device. So we have a windmill, we have a small engine, we have an engine, and we have a liquid fuel engine. The liquid fuel engine and the small engine are unique to the Emberpelts. And the regular engine actually runs on charcoal, which is another one of those resources that the Emberpelts can create. Liquid fuel engine runs on liquid fuel. It's just the same stuff the bots use. So really, really good late game power generation at 1000 HP apiece. And then we do have gravity batteries, and I do have the Flywheels mod installed. Long-time channel supporter Battery Smooth made this quite a while back, and I like it a lot, and I think we're going to be able to make good use of it. But now we've got some radishes coming in. You start to see that in not a moment too soon, because we're getting pretty low on berries. Just about completely out, actually. So yeah, some nice early game progress. Nothing, nothing complicated, nothing fancy. But we're in a pretty good spot. And I don't see really much value in using water wheels here, because the flow is not very strong. So you know what that means? It means it's time for the Beard Wheel. The only bad thing is the Beard Wheel takes 50 logs. And, we do have 45. And we can cut down some more trees, but that's a lot of logs. And that's a lot of beaver labor, too, to run this thing. So before we get too comfortable, we probably should use these logs to build some housing, because the beavers aren't going to reproduce without it. And now we have to talk about how the Emberpelts housing works. We, of course, have regular lodges, the little 2x2 that stores 3 beavers in its beaver storage. like the folktales have. But this is where the similarities kind of end, because we also have, you know, the little mini lodge thing. We've got a vertical lodge. We've got a double lodge, and this is kind of like the folktales thing as well, along with the triple lodge. We also have the double vertical lodge, and then we've got a large lodge, which is kind of closer to the barracks that the Iron Teeth have, and then we have what's called the tenement lodge. And every single lodge with these guys, with the Emberpelts, if it shares a wall, it can share a doorway, and they can just travel freely between any of them. And not only that, we've got walkways. It'll make more sense when we actually get into building with these, but we've got walkways and walkway entrances and sky bridges and sky bridge stairs and the sky bridge. Say that one 5 times fast. You can create some really cool modular housing complexes, and I intend to take full advantage of all of that with this playthrough. Because look at all this verticality we can do. You can make some really, really cool cliff-hanging structures, or just neat designed housing complexes that don't have to just be giant cubes. It's really, really fun, and I think you guys are going to like it a lot. But for now, all we have available to us is just the normal lodge. So let's pick a spot and just start building some of these. So I'm going to put one there, and then here I'm going to turn that 270 degrees. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us a direct link between here and here through both of these doors. You know, just chilling in your living room watching TV or whatever, somebody walks by, is like, yeah, I'm on my way to work at the Adventure Hut. Like, I wouldn't want that in my neighborhood, but I guess these beavers are a little more sociable than I am, possibly. All jokes aside, we'll get through the night here and get a little bit better situated with our food, because right now it says nothing, and these beavers are a little hungry. Let's get these guys back in the farmhouse for harvesting, because one beaver cannot do it all by himself. And for all the complaining, there's only one beaver who's actually hungry, so it could be a whole lot worse. Things are going to be just fine. Yeah, see, now you can see we've got some radishes coming in. We have 46 science, which is starting to be pretty positive here. And you see, I click on this, they're both connected there. You just saw somebody go through there. Yep, just like that. Super fun, huh? So let's, for right now, again, I want to make some nice looking stuff later, but it is still early game, and there's a very limited amount of stuff that we can actually do here. So let's flip that guy right there. I'm going to have this go this way. That's going to get us to 12, which is how many we currently have, but we need to, you know, keep expanding our beaver ranks. So this right here is going to be a good opportunity for us to do one of these, and then that will give us yet another connection coming up here, right into the doorway of this adventure hut. And, well, we don't even technically have to connect the doorways here, but I'm going to connect to this bottom one at the very least, and that should be, well, better than a normal looking apartment building that I end up typically building here. So once we're able to actually grow the population, we can start branching out into some other stuff. And I think that is going to have something to do with building the beard wheel, yes, and all of these other things. Because we're going to have planks, we're going to have to do something. And before too long, we're going to have our first drought, and that, of course, is going to mean that water wheels will be basically entirely useless. So this used to cost 100 logs. If you remember back in, oh, what is that, update 5? Update 5 or update 6 when they put this in? But now it's only 50, which is, you know, we only have 26, but could definitely be a whole lot worse. And I don't really want to get myself hemmed into one specific place, but we do have kind of limited options at the very start here. And I probably should build a regular lumber mill with all of this stuff in mind. See, that's not going to fit nicely there. I do have to be able to actually get to the entrance of the beard wheel. So, you know what? I guess right around here is probably the best we can do, huh? So that would go there nicely, except this is just a regular pine tree. But you know what? I'm not going to be my own enemy here. I'm just going to demolish this pine tree before it has a chance to grow up, because we have enough wood here, and we do have some up here once we get stairs that we can take advantage of. But I do think this is going to be a decent place for us to put our first lumber mill. And then the beard wheel will go here. we'll be able to take pretty good care of most of this stuff. Let's mark these trees for cutting. I've got this. Yeah, there's that well-being bonus from your first night sleeping in an actual house. How about that? These guys... Oh, they can reach that. Good. They'll get those cut down, and then this can be some more storage for other things when the time comes. Alright, so that is going there. Let's pop in our beard wheel. And, of course, that has to have an entrance. Now, why would I leave a power connection facing the water pump, you might be asking? I'm so glad you asked, because the Emberpelts have a... where is that thing? Automated water pump, yes. Which does not have to be staffed and consumes 75 HP. So, you can really pump a whole lot of water with these guys without actually having to use beaver labor. Which, hey, that's great. That's efficient. And it frees up beavers to have either a whole lot of fun not working, or for them to, you know, get utilized in other jobs that we might need them to do, which is always fun. But we need some more logs. We currently do not have enough wood. And that is a shame, because we're not going to have any power until that's completed. But the rest of these trees available here are going to be plenty of wood for us to take care of everything. And these guys, of course, have no wood in stock. So let's get this on triple speed. Let them get back to work. Hard at work cutting down some oak trees and pine trees and a couple of birches as well. And we've got some radishes stored up. We do have some berries as well. You see these triple green arrows here? That is one of the mods I have installed. That also is going to give us the ability to track where goods are consumed and produced. It's very helpful. It's called goods consumption and goods tracing. That's kind of two that work hand in hand. Very, very, very useful mod. I highly recommend you play with it if you do play modded. And especially when we get a little bit further into the game, the production chains get a little bit more complex. This is really helpful to have. Alright, so we're about halfway there with the large power wheel / beard wheel. Well-being high score of 5, which is, you know, good for early game. But the most important thing is, as the drought approaches, that we have a good stockpile of water. And, you know, 90 for 15 beavers, 90 is fine for the first drought, because it's usually only a couple of days. But we do need to expand that, and the science that we're getting is going to be helpful, so long as we actually have planks ready to go, which currently we don't. And we'll have to have piles for stuff. I think for right now, just a small industrial pile will be fine. I will just pop that right there for some planks. And then in anticipation of having gears later, I will put this storage for gears before we need it, because you know I'm going to forget. And this one right here, I believe power consumption on that is 50 HP, which means I don't need 4 beavers working here. I only need 1. So let's take one out of the district center. And then I should have, yep, we got 1 beaver ready to go on the beard wheel. And then this lumber mill can also start making some planks. And as soon as we've got planks, you know what that means? It means we can build a forester. But it also means we can build stairs. So before we get into building foresters or anything, because we're about to have a drought anyway, we'll go ahead and actually research the stairs as soon as we get to 70 science, and then we'll be able to get up there. Right now, nobody's in here because they're busy taking care of other stuff. So we'll let them make a couple more planks. I guess I probably should have enough to make a forester and some stairs. The stairs are 4 and the forester's 7. And I've got 11, so you know what? Sounds like good enough for me right here. Let's just grab a couple more science points. Well, okay, well, now it's time for them to go home and go to bed. But in the morning, you come back, you do a little bit more research, we'll put some stairs in, and we're going to be in really, really good shape. So we have, I don't know, maybe about another 70 wood up here with these oak trees. But there's not a whole lot of stuff we have to build, absolutely must build. At least not right now, so I think we can be good. Let's plant a couple radishes, and I'm going to start expanding for tomatoes as well, now that we do have a kind of stable food supply. And again, these guys will just eat it raw, but it's going to be a very good thing to have for other recipes as we get a little bit further along, like in the bakery. We've got tomatoes that go into these stuffed peppers, and then all sorts of other fun stuff as well. So we have our science. Let's get our stairs researched. And I'm going to pop those right there. And as we have I guess technically a couple more trees left, I'm going to pause that lumberjack flag. And I'm going to build another one up here that can reach all of those. And, of course, because these trees are dead, we don't have to worry about, oh, we're going to cut all the trees down. Like, well, yeah, that's the idea. They're not going to grow anymore. They'll be able to take care of that. We do have plenty of log storage available. And then any logs we use past this point probably should be used to increase our storage of water. We still don't have that first drought warning. So that is a good sign that we will probably be in good shape. Let's just make a little bit more storage here. Give these guys something to do. Yeah, we're cutting those down. I'm thinking, long term, we probably don't want to be growing trees on this island because, well, this is the starting island. It's gonna, well, it's not really an island, but you get what I'm saying. This is going to be good for farming. And we already have a lot of trees over here. So, now that we have some science, we can think about what we want to do next. We got platforms. We got double platforms, triple platforms, metal platforms. We also have these suspension bridges, which currently, I think this is a 5-wide gap. Yes, we'd have to have the 2x1 and the 3x1, and that's just a little bit expensive right now. And the dams, of course, aren't really going to be that helpful here because they're going to hold water back. They would really only be super helpful if I had them on the outflow, which currently, you pay attention here, our water comes out right here. You can't really see it unless I did something like this. This would be a good example of a place that a sluice gate would work very well, so no bad water can come in through here. But as you might expect, sluice gates are a little ways off because they have to have metal blocks. So, I mean, we also could put dams in here, but there's really no point in doing this. All of the water that is up here will flow out this way when we have our drought, so it's not really going to be that easy to keep water in unless we were to do something like putting a levee here and then some dams on top. We've got options. But again, the first drought is not going to be that big of a deal. These crops will all die, but that's just how it goes. That's Timberborn for you. So what I'm going to propose instead is that we put stairs down here and then go up this way, and then we have this be our tree farm island, at least to start out with. There's our drought approaching warning in 3 days. So again, we're not going to be worried about anything because the beavers don't like to get wet, but if there's a drought, it doesn't matter. So we'll just be able to come through here. I'm not going to have them build this one yet because again, they don't like getting wet, but when they can't get wet because there's no water, then we'll send them over here to build this, and then with the other materials that we get and the other science that we research during that drought, we'll probably be able to unlock either levees or bridges or some sort of something. Honestly, probably just the platforms, but we're a little bit short on cash of the science variety currently. In fact, you know what? No, it's still paused. I'll leave it there just in case, but now we do have that staircase ready to go. We got some more trees to cut down up here, and I don't think I have extra beavers per se, but I do have these guys researching. Probably should let them stay in their science huts. 150 science, 150 water is going to be plenty for these guys. For this first drought, it's probably only going to be a couple of days, and beavers consume about 2 water per day, so 30 per day, and I think that's going to be just fine. So what else can we do at this exact moment in time? Well, it's probably not too far off that we could get into growing some corn, but since we did have a drought coming up, I didn't want to get started with that because it takes 10 days to grow, and it absolutely is not going to stay alive during this first one. So what we can do is we can plant some corn at the very end of the drought when the water comes back and the land is actually irrigated, and just have a couple of those crops maybe up here. And then we'll have those for cycle 2. Shouldn't be too bad, but I do want to get across to this island here and start the process of clearing this out because, well, there's only a little bit of space available. And we're going to need it because I have to have a lumberjack flag over here. And I only have this one tile, so you know how this works. If I build a lumberjack flag here, they can't actually get up off the stairs. So we're going to have to get rid of one of these blueberry bushes. And I think it's going to have to be that one. So we'll just have to wait and see. Let these guys do what they're going to do. Continue harvesting some radishes. And then, I think, yeah, 62% through a 5-day growth cycle. We definitely will have no problem harvesting this batch of tomatoes. And we get 3 per tile, so we will need to have some storage for those guys. That will be way more than we can store in the farmhouse. And the radish storage is actually full, so let's do ourselves a favor here. Build a little warehouse for some tomatoes. That's not a tomato, that's an apple. There you go. And then probably not going to fit one here very nicely until we have ladders in place. And again, this is not how this is going to stay. This is just early game. I got limited options. We will make things that look nicer at some point in the future. For now, I think things are looking pretty good. We do have over 100 science, which I think for our purposes now, a regular platform is going to be the smart thing to do. So, I'm not going to place these yet because they're going to want to get down in the water to build them. But, actually, because it's the middle of the night, I can get away with doing this because then I can just pause them. Oh, come on. Yeah, let's just get rid of this. Pause that, and then I'll put this last one right here. Come on. There we go. Hit pause. So you might be saying, well, why did you build the stairs then if you're just going to build the platforms? Well, the stairs allow them to build from underneath, which means all of these can be built at once. Instead of one, and then one, and one, and one, and one, so on and so forth. Just a little bit more efficiently. And, you know, we're also going to want to be able to get down in here so we can build other things as time progresses. So now, I've got 3 beavers who have nothing to do. You know what that means? Get on the wheel. Make me some planks. Because we're going to need them to build this. It's 4 each, and there's other things that are going to require planks as well. Like our forester that we're going to be building. But for now, not much more we can do except wait. I'll let these guys get things harvested. And then these tomatoes in just a bit as well. Science, of course, continuing to accrue. And we're going to want to diversify food here in a little bit. But since we do have some extra logs, I think it would be smart for us to start building some well-being things. Like we have this campfire right here. I think it would be a smart idea to have one of those available. These do help the beavers grow up a little bit quicker. And then we have rooftop terraces available also. But I don't really have a great place to stick one of those at this moment in time that we can actually access. We also have the frog statue, which I know a lot of you are big fans of. But we don't have clay yet, so we can't quite build one of those just yet. Yeah, we got tomatoes coming in now. Let's grab those. Okay, well, you don't need to plant anything. You definitely don't need to plant anything, because it's all going to die here in just a little bit, depending on how long it takes for all this water to go away. I'm willing to bet it might actually not be that bad for the first drought, just because this is such a big map and there's, you know, so much water absolutely everywhere. But as things go along, and especially when we get to bad tides, things are going to get really rough really fast. But thankfully, on normal mode, we're not going to get a bad tide for another couple of cycles, and we can start to build some defense. This is a really good starting position for bad tide defense, because all we'd have to do is put sluices or levees or something here, and then wall this up as well. That should not be that bad. And now we have our first drought. It's only 2 days. See, it's gonna be just fine. But for now, we'll just have these guys continue doing what they're doing. And I think if this water does end up going away pretty quickly, then we'll have these guys come in here. But I don't think it's gonna end up mattering all that much. I got 21 planks. Very good. And we'll just have excess storage in the lumber mill itself until I build a bigger thing. But it looks like our water is going to be maybe sticking around a little bit longer than I thought it would. That's not exactly encouraging news for my ability to judge these things on what Series 29. Okay, well now that's starting to disappear. There it goes. There it goes. Just in time for the workday to be over. Well, you know how it goes. I will get those unpaused. And, of course, all of these crops are going to die in 1.9 days. The tomatoes have little bit better, juicy, a little bit better drought resistance at 3.7. So it's fine. I have these guys set to harvest mode, but we have a very, very, very full stash of radishes, and the tomatoes are not going to grow any faster than, well, anything, because they don't have any water. I'm very curious how much of this is going to stick around here. Wait a minute. Is this actually going to hold up? Yeah, okay. So this is still here because this is still here, and this is still here because this is actually a depression here. All right. Well, you know what? This map just got a whole lot easier. Oh, that's exciting news. Then we have 120 science. So you know what? 120 science gets us regular levies. I'm not going to do it yet, though. Because, you know, we do still need to have water come through here. But before we have our bad tide, we're going to want to do everything we can to at least have some sort of control over this. So I can't research the levees and the floodgates at the same time because I don't have enough science. But we could very easily just put a couple levees through here and then a floodgate in the middle and the same thing on this side. And be in pretty good shape. I feel very, very confident about that. But it's still cycle 1. We got plenty of time. And again, this is normal mode, not hard mode, so everything is going to be perfectly fine. Alright, so now we have 1 day left in our drought, and the beavers are hard at work putting these platforms together all at the same time, well, theoretically, without having to walk on top of them, and that is just going to be so much quicker than doing it this way. Let's get our path on this side here. And now, actually, because I've done this, I think I can get away with having... Yeah, see, I can have this right here is going to be able to get most of these trees. I'm just going to have them mark all of them for cutting. We have all these berry bushes that I really don't think are going to be necessary for us to keep. So I might end up just harvesting those. Not that I have storage for it anyway. But I might end up harvesting those, and then we'll just be everything we can do with that. So somehow these are still alive. I'm actually flabbergasted how that's possible. We did manage to keep some of these tomatoes alive on this side, which is, you know, nice. But because this holds water, in a bad tide, this is going to be really, really, well, bad. That's why it's called a bad tide. We'll get it figured out. All right, cycle 2 begins. Cycle 2 begins. And now we have a tremendously good opportunity to get ahead of some expansion and, you know, end episode 1 on a high note. You know what I haven't done? Is I have not built a tooth grindstone. I am so sorry, beavers. You need that. You absolutely need that. So that is going to be the new thing that they're going to have to take care of immediately. I'm very curious. How long is it going to take for us to get our clean water back over here? Because there is some stagnant bad water that we really, you know, don't want hanging around. So I'm hoping that can get fleshed out before the level rises at all. You see this is kind of brackish purple here. Yeah, and it's going to come back through here a little bit until we have some sluices installed. Yeah, see, some of this is bad water. It's not enough to poison anything, but it's definitely not great. Like I said, this will run clean soon enough. So now we do have water here. We have tons of water stored up. It's perfectly fine. Everything's looking good. If you're wondering why these buildings are highlighting, I believe that is the TimberUi, Timprove 4 UI, one of those things that highlights production chains. Very helpful mod. Now we got day 2 of cycle 2. We've got our irrigation back. We've got our crops going again. I guess I can put this back on planting mode. And as promised, it is time to plant some corn. So I'm going to stick that here. And it might be a little bit too much corn for our needs at this exact moment with only 15, well, now it's 14 beavers, but we'll get there. It all just takes time. You know this. It's our favorite saying. Well, some of our favorite saying. Some of you guys aren't a huge fan of that, but I digress. I got 188 science. Again, the beavers don't like getting wet. So I don't think it would be wise for us to try and build this stuff during a temperate cycle unless they're able to do it without walking in the water. And it's not going to kill them. It's just going to give them a debuff that means they're not going to want to work for a little bit. But let's take a moment here to scope out our closest metal source, because I get the feeling it's not really that close. We have some over here. And I know there's a couple of those buried mines somewhere. Yeah, see, metal is can be a little bit of a challenge. Just a little bit. Unless I can see some more over here. No, we just have some trees under overhangs, which is nice. You know, this reminds me of, like, beta Minecraft. Anyone play the Gargamel seed? Long time ago. Oh, hey, here's some ruins. But that's exactly what it reminds me of with these really dramatic overhanging cliffs and the crazy terrain generation. It's just really cool looking. Really, really good stuff. So, suffice to say, I think we're going to have our work cut out for us to get to metal, which is going to be required for sluices. So that's definitely not a today thing. Might not even be a next episode thing. But for now, I think we're in a really, really, really good spot. Let's get our forester researched. And I'm going to have to find a place on this island to build one. See, this right here is actually in range of just about everything. Let's just check up here. You know what? Yeah, I'm not upset about this at all. I'm going to flip the entrance, though, so that sits right there. Give this a path entrance. And as they cut all of these trees down, we're going to have an opportunity. And, you know, not only in this island, we can put stuff over here, too. We can have some food trees. And the gatherer flags, of course, can reach all of this. Well, the single gatherer flag. The first tree we're probably going to want to plant for the purposes of, you know, keeping the beavers alive is the apple tree. Because, well, you get apples from it, right? So let's take these berry bushes out, just so we have a little bit more space. We're not going to really need berries that much with the regular Emberpelts, because their reproduction system does not involve the baby beaver brewing buckets. There is an expansion mod you can get if you want to have that, but I've never played with it. So they're going to take those out, and as soon as this guy is constructed, we will start planting apple trees. And I don't have to wait for them to get rid of everything to actually plant the trees. I just, you know, would like to at some point have all of those trees planted nicely. So that'll be fine. And this can be for wood trees. Well, they're all wood trees, but trees that we harvest for their wood. And we're going to have a really, really nice setup here at the end of episode 1 in just a little bit. Alright, so we have a beaver in here. I think it's about time to expand our housing just a touch. So in the interest of creating something interesting looking, we can have another one of these lodges here. Again, making some irregular shapes, but that's part of the fun. That's going to expand our capacity up to 18 beavers. And get us a few more available for jobs. And then we can really start cracking into some new fun stuff. Next episode, though. Just make sure all of these apple trees are popped in where they need to go. They're going to take their sweet time getting rid of these bushes. But we've got the 3x speed button, so that's going to be A-okay. And let's not forget this lumberjack flag does not need to be in that position. It can get moved over here, and that will give me one more space to plant an apple tree. That's always going to be good. So here we are at the end of the night of day 2. Water storage completely full. Food storage not completely full, but, you know, kind of starting to get there. And the corn is... Yeah, corn's not even 10% of the way grown, so we're definitely not going to see that today. But it's good that we're making preparations for stuff. Now, we talked about building a grill to make the grilled corn, as one does. But remember, it has clay. And you know what? Probably not a bad idea for us to get into that production chain as well. So clay has to be researched, but that comes out of a clay pit, which we do have the science to do this. It consumes water, and then we get clay. I guess they wet the ground and then they dig it out. So this doesn't really have a specific place it has to go, and I think it would be best if we used a spot that wasn't going to be, you know, growable. So remember, because we don't have to be super space efficient, I'm just going to stick it in this little hole here. Let's unlock it for 100 science points. Build our path out this way. And that will employ up to 2 beavers. We are still, you know, attempting to get additional beavers. So this is going to be not staffed or understaffed for quite some time. But along with the clay pit, we also have the kiln, which we can make bricks from. We're not going to need those quite yet. I guess we'll leave that for next time. But having the actual clay itself, once this is finished, is going to make it possible for us to build the grill. Because we don't have to have the bricks, we only need the clay. And this thing right here, I guess, again, we don't need to have... Oh, this can go away. We don't need to have, you know, everything be super compact. We can make things look just a little bit nicer. So if I put the grill there, it is a little bit further of a trek for some of these guys, but again, we're making stuff that's supposed to look cool, or at least better than I'm going to make everything in a single row and it's going to be super compact. Like, no, no, no. The grill needs to be set to grilled corn, and the recipe for this is, well, corn and a little bit of logs to make the fire, and then you have grilled corn. So we will need to have corn storage. Remember, this isn't going to be grown for quite a while, but we can still do just a little bit more work here today. And I think what's going to make the most sense is for us to have, I guess this is fine here. I will make this storage not for grilled corn, but for regular corn. Because again, we haven't made corn yet. But the reason why I have not made it for grilled corn also is you get 4 times as many pieces of corn when you actually complete the recipe. So you can store a decent bit in the grill after it makes the corn. So if you store in your medium warehouse the raw corn, then you actually have the potential, because this has a capacity of 200, you have the potential to have storage, theoretically, of 800 grilled corn, because it has to be processed through here. We will, of course, have storage for the actual, you know, finished products all at some point, but you don't have to, you know, go crazy building a bunch of storage for everything if you're smart about it. It does take time, though. So I've got a little bit more space to plant some apple trees here, and I will keep this, I suppose, all set up just like so. Can the farmhouse reach all the way? It can. So I'm going to have that be all corn. That last piece, I guess they can't do anything with, but it never hurts to use all of your available real estate. I suppose, since we have no berry storage, I probably should build more berry storage before I just go around deleting everything. And this lumberjack flag probably doesn't actually have any trees to cut except these that are about to grow. So that can go away, that can go away. This can become a couple more radishes. That can also become a couple more radishes. We're not going to need this many long term, no, but it'll be fine. Let's go ahead and build a... I guess we probably don't need a medium warehouse for all those berries, because we're not really going to need very many of them ever. So I'll just put a little small warehouse right here for some berries, just so we can, you know, harvest a few more before I completely wipe these off the face of the earth and expand some other things. Because remember, now that we have the grill, which I will pause because we can't actually do anything with it, we can also do grilled bell peppers. If we have all the other ingredients, which in this case is canola oil, which we haven't started growing yet. So we're not going to grow that yet. We're not going to grow... Well, you can't grow the oil. You have to press it. We're not going to grow bell peppers quite yet either. Right now, corn and radishes and then raw tomatoes are going to have to be good enough. We also need to make sure we unmark this entire thing for tree cutting, because this has happened to me in the past where I have planted all these wonderful trees for food, and then my hardworking, earnest beavers do exactly as I've told them and cut down the trees that I'm planting for food. Which, hey, I can't really be mad. I told them to do it, but they weren't supposed to do that. Okay, that's already full. Let's just get all of these berry bushes out of here so we can, you know, actually plant some other crops eventually. And they will make good use of that. We probably should plant some more apple trees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this area off. I'm not going to pull these out of the ground yet, but we will not replant them as radishes. We'll replant them as apple trees. And of course we also have, you know, regular birches and pines and maples and oaks. Maples, of course, give us that maple syrup, and it does take 40 days to get that. So we're going to want to have maple syrup. But I don't know that this... I keep calling it an island. It's not an island. It's connected to the main landmass. But this area is probably not going to be where we want to do that, and we're still pretty far off away from those things. So what we'll do here in the last little bit of this episode is start turning this area into apple trees just as soon as we are able, because this guy does have a reach pretty much all the way over to here. And to compensate for losing these radishes, I suppose I could plant this. Okay, that needs to be removed here. Suppose I could plant this as more radishes, and then we do have all these other things. Beets go into beet and radish juice, which is something that we'll get to eventually. You know, it takes 9 days, and we are about to have another drought, so it's probably not a great idea to plant too many more crops right now. But it is only day 8. I think we should have at least another 3 or 4 days. Hopefully 4 or 5, so we can get the rest of this corn out before the drought comes in. But it is going to be time pretty soon for us to make some more science, and I think, yeah, we can hit pause on the clay pit, try to get these guys back into the inventors. I also have completely full storage on planks, and we're not going to need any more of those for quite some time, so let's pause those 2 jobs. Get these guys back in the inventors. Yeah, there we go. So we can make some good choices before we get to the next drought. So we can actually take advantage of the time to come over here and put in some levees and floodgates. So like I said before, here and then here is going to be our best bet. And we're going to want to make sure that they can take full advantage of that stuff. But I think that's going to end up being something that's better left to the next episode. I try not to make the first episodes insanely long, and this one's already creeping up on an hour. So I do really appreciate you guys checking this series out. If this is your first time on the channel, thanks for watching the videos. I don't edit these. Like, I'll remove if I have to cough or something, but this is unedited, just raw gameplay, conversational style, me telling you exactly what's happening and bouncing ideas off of you. So please do feel free to comment and make suggestions or offer advice. Backseat gaming, quote unquote, I guess is something a lot of people really don't like. But I do encourage interaction here because it's a let's play, not a watch me play, right? I want you guys to be involved, and that's always what we've done here, and it's what I'd like to continue doing. So I do always appreciate when you guys are engaged and offer your advice, and even if I don't, you know, use it, I do always read all the comments and do genuinely appreciate interacting with you guys. We also have a fantastic group of channel supporters here that make it possible for me to do these videos this way and not have sponsors and not seek all this other chasing the algorithm nonsense or whatever. And they subsidize the channel. Those, of course, are the Beard Boosters. You see their names on the screen. Every single person who's ever donated to the channel or had a subscription or whatever, even if they're not active, is on that list. I think there's, what, 1,600 names? So we've had a tremendous amount of support, and I always want to make sure I recognize those folks because they are why I'm able to do this and why we've been able to have so much fun playing with beavers for, I guess, over 4 years now. I started making videos on this game basically as soon as it came out into early access, and it's been just incredibly fun. This is a great community. Timberborn itself is a great community, and I am so glad that you've chosen to be a part of it today. So whatever it is you're doing with the rest of your day, stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you back again in a few days for episode 2 of this new series. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.